connected it. Now let's continue with the studies. Association, the showroom provides the free delivery of the furniture at the business of the customer if the distance between the showroom and the customer's premises. Where the distance is more than 20 km, the showroom charges the concessional freight of rupees 10 for the delivery of the additional kilometers. Miss Lena Kapoor purchases the double bed dressing table and rupees 2 lakh from the furniture hall. Miss Lena is the delivery for the furniture as her residence is located at the distance of the 18 kilometers from the showroom. The showroom incurs the expenditure of ₹1,000 for the delivery of the furniture. Miss Lina residents determine the value of the taxable supply made by the furniture will answer her change if the resident of Miss Lina is 50 kilometers away from the showroom 20 kilometers 20 kilometers. Legal provisions as per section 15(2)(c), as per section 15(2)(c), as per section 15(2)(c). The CGST at the value of the supply includes the incidental expenses including the commission and the packing charge by the supplier to recipient and any amount charged for anything done by the recipient by the supplier in respect of the supply until the delivery of the goods or the supply of the service. Discussion and confusion in the agreement is the showroom is not charging any amount towards the freight from Miss Lena but incurring the same out of its own pocket. Thus the same shall not be added to the value of the supply value. The value of the supply value is 2 lakh in this case. Now, however, if the answer changes in the second case, then the showroom will charge 300 for the freight. The composite supply where the principal supply is the supply and the furniture of the value of rupees 2,300,000. Now section 15(2)(d). Section 15(2)(d). The interest late fee for the penalty for the delayed payment of the consideration must the banners the advertising firm gives the interest free credit period of rupees of 30 days for the payment by the customers. Its customer EBC paid for the supply of 32 days after the supply of the services. The Mazda banners waived the interest payable for the delay of the 2 days. The department wants to aid the interest at the interest for the 2 days. As per the contract, should the notional interest be added to the taxable value? Answer. the conditions of the department to add the notional interest is not valid in the eyes of the law. The value of the supply shall include the interest for the late fee or the penalty for the delayed payment of any consideration for any supply. Section 15(2)(d). Now the such interest is added to the transaction value on the receipt basis and not on the notional basis. The discussion and conclusion. In the given case, must the balance waived out the interest payable for the delay of the 2 days, and thus it is not actually received for the notional interest. Once waived the interest is not payable and is therefore not to be added to the value. Now, Ms. Chandan is the manufacturer of the paper products having the factory at Pune, Maharashtra. The Messrs. Bela in Mumbai, Maharashtra are appointed as the agent as well as the product as to sell the products on behalf of the Messrs. Chand, with the condition that both of them guarantee the realization of the payment from the buyers, both against the supplies made to them, and for this they charge the interest from the ultimate buyer, while Messrs. Mila raises the invoices in the name of the Mrs. Chand, and Mrs. Bela raises the invoice on its own name. Now, legal provision: the DCA is an agent of the para 3 of the Schedule 1. If the invoice for the supply of the goods is issued by his own name, then the such terms credit facility provided by the DCA to the buyer is not treated as a independent activity, and the interest charge for such credit is treated as a delayed payment of the consideration and included in the value. However, if the invoice for the supply of the goods is issued by the supplier to customer through the DCA, then the DCA is not an agent of the para 3 of the Schedule 1. Therefore, short-term credit facility provided by DCA to buyer is an independent activity, and the interest charged for such credit is treated as the interest on the loan, advance or deposit, which is exempt from the tax. Now, discussion and the conclusion. In the given case, Mrs. Mila and Bela are declaratory agents of Mrs. Chand as they guarantee the payment to the supplier. Mrs. Bela is issuing his own invoice, hence the agent of the para 3. Therefore, interest charge on the credit facility will be included in the value of the supply. Mrs. Mila is not issuing own invoice, hence not an agent of the para 3. Therefore, interest is charged on the credit facility is treated as the interest on the loans, which is exempt from the tax, which will be included. philanthropic association makes a substantial donation each year to the reputed management institution to subsidize the education of the low-income group students who have admission. Then the fee for these individuals is reduced thereby coming 3 lakhs a year compared 5 lakhs a year for the other students. What would be the taxable value of the services of the coaching instruction? Now the legal provision, the value of the supply shall include the subsidies directly linked with the price, directly linked to the price, exclude the subsidies provided by the central government and the state government, by the government but by a philanthropic association to subsidize the education, and is directly linked to the fee charge, thus the subsidy is to be, thus the subsidy is to be added back to the price to arrive at the taxable value, that is 5 lakh in the year. Now the Sharp Institute provides the coaching to the engineering entrance examination. Monthly fees charged by the institute from the student is rupees 10,000. The institute is known for the commitment to the provide the education to the unprivileged children. It trains 10 students every year for the entrance examination free of cost. The institute has received the 3 lakhs as the coaching fees during the month. The Navjeevan, an NGO working in the area of the education for unprivileged children, has given a subsidy of rupees 10,000 in a lump sum during the month of the institute to the institute, as it is serving the cause of the unprivileged student. Now determine the value of the supply of the education services made by the Sharp Minds Institute during the month. Now the legal provision, the value of the supply shall include the subsidies directly linked with the price, excluding the subsidies. The value of the supply includes the subsidies directly linked with the price, excluding the services provided by the state government and the central government. Section 15(2)(e), Section 15(2)(e), discussion and conclusion. In the given case, thought the subsidy is given by the non-government body. The same is not includable. In the value of the given in the lump sum and not directly linked to the price and not directly linked to the price of the supply being valued. Therefore, the value of the supply made by the Sharp Minds during the month is 3 lakh. Now, the section 15(3), the reduction of the discount. Section 15(3), the reduction of the discount describes the condition to be satisfied for availing the deduction of the post supply documents from the value of the supply as per the provision of the section 15(3) of the IGST Act. Describe the condition to be satisfied for availing the reduction of the post supply discounts from the. Now, as per the section 15(3), the discounts that are given after the supply is made are allowed as a deduction from the value of the supply if the following two conditions are satisfied. The discount is in the term of an agreement that existed at the time of the supply and can be worked out invoice wise, and the proportionate input tax credit is reversed by the recipient. Any of the above conditions are not satisfied, the GST liability of the supplier cannot be reduced. The discounts are given after the supply is made are allowed as a deduction from the value of the supply in the following conditions are satisfied. The discount in the terms of an arrangement that existed at the time of the supply can be worked out invoice wise, and the proportionate input tax credit reversed by the recipient. Now, any of the above conditions are not satisfied, the GST liability of the supplier cannot be reduced. Now, the Crunch Bakery produced the Limited Crunch Bakery Products Limited sells the biscuits and cakes through its dealer, to whom it charges the first price minus standard discount and pays the GST accordingly. When the goods remains unsold with the dealers, it offers the additional discount on the stock as an incentive to push the sales. Can this additional discount be reduced from the price at which the goods were sold, and the commitments and the concomitant tax adjustment makes. Now, the legal provision, the discount that are given after the supply is made are allowed as a deduction from the value of the supply in the following two cases are satisfied. The discount in the terms of the agreement. The discount is in the terms of an agreement and existed at the time of the supply and can be worked out invoice wise. Then the proportionate input tax credit is reversed By the recipient section 53 discussion and conclusion in the given case the current weekly products has given additional discount after the supply of the goods which was not agreed in the terms of the supply. Therefore the discount cannot be reduced from the price which tax had been paid from which the tax has been paid. Now, Vishwanath Limited, a registered supplier in Karnataka, has provided the following details for the supply of one machine. Now, the list price of the machine supplied exclusive of its items given below 2 and 4. The date of the CGST, HGST, IGST is 9 and 18% respectively for both inward and the outward supply. Then, 4 second. 2 to 4 the tax levied by the local authority on the sale of such machine. The discount at the rate 2% on the list price of the machine was provided recorded in the invoice price of the machine. The packing expenses for the sales transportation charged separately in the invoice, that is 4,000. Now the Vishwanath Limited received 5,000 as price linked subsidy from the NGO on the sales of each of the such machine. The price of 80,000 of the machine is after considering the subsidy. During the month of the February, the Vishwanath Limited supplied the 3 machines to the intrastate customers and the Vishwanath Limited purchase and the Vishwanath on machine interstate customer. Now Vishwanath Limited purchased inputs intrastate for rupees 1,20,000 exclusive of the GST for the supplying the above 4 machines during the month. The balance of the ITC at the beginning of the February CGST, SGST and then IGST. The rate of the CGST is 9 and 18. Now all the amounts are given above are exclusive of the GST. All the conditions are necessary for availing ITC had been fulfilled. Compute the minimum GST, minimum net GST payable in cash by Vishwanath Limited for the month of the February. The list price of the machine is 18,000 at the tax levied by the local authority on the sale is 6,000. The packing expenses for the safe transportation is 4,000. Then add the price linked subsidy received from the NGO on the sales of such machine. The total discount at the rate 2% 60 as per section 53. Since the discount is known at the time of the supply, the subsidy received from the non-government body and which is directly linked to the price and which is directly linked to the price the same is included in the value as per section 15. The alleged supply is 93,400. Now the computation of the total input tax credit. The computation of the total input tax credit available. If we see here the input tax credit available as it is, then the input purchase during the month 1,20,000 for 9% and 1 lakh rupees, and the ITC available is this. The computation of the minimum GST payable in cash by Vishwanath Limited. The sales of the machine is this. Then the interstate sales is this. Intrastate sales is this. The Samriddhi advertisers conceptualized and designed the advertising campaigns for the new product launched by the New Moon Private Limited for the consideration of rupees 5 lakh. The Samriddhi advertisers owned 20,000 at one of its vendors in the relation to the advertising services provided by it to the New Moon Private Limited, such liability of the Samriddhi advertisers was discharged by the New Moon Private Limited. New Moon Private Limited delayed the payment on the consideration and thus paid rupees 15,000 as the interest determined the value of the taxable supply made by the Samriddhi advertisements. Now we see the determination of the value of the taxable supply made by the Samriddhi advertisers. Now advertising services charges is the payment made by the New Moon Private Limited on the vendor Samriddhi advertisers note 1. The interest on the delayed payment of the consideration note 2. The supplier's liability being incurred by the recipient also not included in the price charge is includable in the value of the supply section 15.2b. The interest for the delay in the payment of the consideration will be includable in the value of the supply as per section 15.2d, but the time of the supply of the same will be the date when such interest amount is actually received. Such interest received shall be inclusive of the GST, and the value shall be computed by the backward calculation, that is interest plus 100 plus tax into 100. Now the Mrs. Flow Pro, a registered supplier, sold a machine to the BP Private Limited. It provides the following information in this regards: the price of the machine excluding the taxes and the other charges mentioned at the S numbers 1 and 2 and 3. The third party inspection charges. Such charges were payable by the Mrs. Flow Pro, but the same have been directly paid by the BP Limited to the inspection agency. These charges were not recorded in the invoice issued by Mrs. Flow. Now, freight charges for the delivery of the machines agreed to deliver the goods to the BP Private Limited. Now, the subsidy received from the state government and the sales of the machine under the skill development program subsidy is directly linked to the price. Now discount of 2% is offered to the BP Private Limited on the price mentioned at the S number of 1 and above recorded at the invoice. The price of the machine is net of the subsidy received. Now determine the value of the taxable supply made by the Mrs. Flow Pro Limited. Now in this case the price of the machine is this. The value of the supply shall be transaction value, that is the price actually payable for the supply. Third party inspection charges 5,000. Any amount that the supplier is liable to pay for the supply, but it is incurred the recipient not included in the price, then it is includable in the value of the supply section 15.2b. Now the freight charges for the delivery of the machine 2,000. Any incidental expenses charged by the supplier is includable in the value of the supply. The freight charges is the incidental expenses and also a part of the composite supply, hence it is added in the value of the supply section 15.2c. Now the subsidy from the state government will only subsidy linked to the price other than the government, government is includable in the taxable value. Section 15.2e, in the given case subsidy received from the government is not includable in the value of the supply. So total 32,000 discount at 32%, 25,000 being the price. If the discount is given before or at the time of the supply and the duty recorded in the invoice, then it is deduction from the value of the supply. Now the value of the taxable supply is 31,500. The following are the particulars relating to one of the machines sold by the SQM Limited to ACD Limited in the month of the February at the list price of 9,50,000 exclusive of the taxes and the discount. The municipal tax is chargeable to the machine on the machine. The outward freight charges. The contract was to deliver the machine at the ECD Limited's factory. In the FR contract, if we see the computation of the value of the supply, the computation of the value of the taxable supply, the list price exclusive of the taxes and the discount 9,50,000. The municipal taxes, the taxes other than the GST are includable in the value of the supply if the charge separately. The freight charges are and incidental expenses and also a part of the composite supply, hence includable in the value of the supply. Then the outward freight charge is not to the value of the supply includable includes the interest charge on the delayed payment of the consideration in the given case. However, the interest is waived off, not included in the value of the supply, no directly linked to the price and hence not to be added. Then the post supply discount. Is deductible. It is charged at the time of the supply linked invoice. ITC is reversed by the recipient in the given case the discount was not agreed at the time of the supply, hence no reduction, not deduction, not deductible from the value. Section 15(3)(b). Hello guys, are you all there? Hello guys, are you all there? The following are the particulars relating to one of the machines sold by the exclusive recipient. Now the list price of the services of the exclusive. The interest is waived off and hence not included. Guys, do subscribe the channel. Now Shri Krishna Private Limited, a registered supplier, furnishes the following information relating to the goods sold by its to the Shri Balram Private Limited. Private, the price of the goods excluding the taxes and other charges mentioned at the S numbers. Now the price of the goods is like the value of the supply is the transaction value. Section 15(1). The taxes other than the GST are includable in the value of the supply. Section 15(2)(a). Now inspection charges, the incidental expenses charged by the seller is included in the value of the supply. Now the subsidy received from the Sri Ram Trust 50,000, since the subsidy received from the non-government body and it is an increase and it is already linked to the price, hence includable in the value of the supply. Section 15(2)(e). Section 15(2)(e). Now the late fees for the delayed payment. If the late fee is charged by the seller, then it is includable in the value. In the given case it is waived off, hence not added. Then the payment charges paid to the Radhe Private Limited by Sri Balram Private Limited on behalf of Sri Krishna. Any liability of the supplier incurred by the recipient and not included in the price, it shall be added to the value of the supply. just end this session here as I'm not feeling well. So bye bye.